that the power of Christ compels you.
I see dead people.
It's alive! It's alive!
Real Chat Podcast presents the 100 Greatest Movies. Movie number 91, The Prestige.
Shoot me. Come on.
No, I can't shoot.
Do it! How'd you like that?
How do you do it?
Magic.
I'll perform this feat in a manner never before seen by yourselves or any other audience anywhere in the world.
The audience loved it.
This trick is top-notch.
We need to celebrate.
A real magician tries to invent something new. It's something that other magicians will scratch their heads over.
I suppose you have such a trick.
Actually, I do. It's the one they're gonna remember me for.
What happened?
It was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen. I need to know how he does it.
He has no trick. It's real. Every great magic trick consists of 3 acts. The first act is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary, but of course, it probably isn't. The second act is called the turn.
He's obsessed with discovering your method.
The magician makes this ordinary something do something extraordinary. Now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it. That's why there's a third act called the prestige. This is the part with the twists and turns, where lives hang in the balance.
Julie, come on!
And you see something shocking you've never seen before. This was built by a man who can actually do what magicians pretend to do.
Real magic.
I know what you really are.
How does he do it? You want the truth?
Nothing is impossible.
Abracadabra.
No more secrets.
Secrets of my life.
Everybody, welcome to episode 73 of the Real Chat Podcast, a podcast that promises cinephiles, whether here or abroad, the real world as we know it. When Christopher Nolan made his debut into cinemas with Memento, film lovers witnessed the first rumblings of a creative genius who brought innovation and artistic flair with his unique visual and narrative style. In 2005, Nolan directed what many fans believe to be arguably the best of the Batman films, Batman Begins, finding both critical and box office success. As a surprise to those expecting a sequel to Batman Begins, Nolan instead produced a subtly staggering film about personal and professional rivalry between 2 magicians in 2006's The Prestige, which certainly practices what it preaches. This Victorian-era tale of obsession, murder, and one-upmanship revolves around 2 skilled magicians, the charismatic showman Robert Angier, played by Hugh Jackman, and the more introspective Alfred Borden, played by Christian Bale, but more specifically, how the tragic death of Angier's wife has sparked a feud between the two. Whereas the novel extends the rivalry's effects further down the family tree, Nolan's adaptation focuses solely on the war as it happens, resulting in a tense, bitter tale that we know can't end happily. As the story drifts in and out of focus, small details hint at things to come, or in some cases, things that may have already happened. My name is Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here by good friend Mr. Andrew McCaskill. Andrew, welcome back.
You sure it's me, Adam?
Definitely
or is
you.
It, my duplicate.
I'm just going to have to go along with this
touched by lightning earlier, and who's to say? Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No worries at all, Andrew. And welcome back as well, Miss Penny Jelly. Penny, how's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Yes, it's good to have you back.
Thank you. It's not an illusion. I'm here.
You're definitely here. I can see you right in front of my face. That's right. And welcome back as well. Geez, is he a guest or a special guest? I don't know. Mr. Michael Hadjion.
What if I a special guest over a guest?
Well, the thing, special guests don't come on that often.
Yeah, that'd be me then.
We actually haven't seen you in a proper episode of Real Chat since episode 44, which was the Evil Dead back on November 6, 2015.
Wowzers.
There you go.
What did we do?
2 years.
What did we do to
How did you hold the show without me? Yeah, what's
I
going
have
on?
no idea. I don't know, mate. I have no idea how I held down the fort without you, but welcome back to the Effervescent.
No, thank you very much. It's the Effervescent Hadjion. Yeah, it's great to be back and excited to talk about this film. You were asking before we went on air if this was if I love this film, and I got to say I do. So this keeps the trend of me only being on episodes of films that I love. So
just continuing a tradition. That's what we're doing. That's
excited
right.
to get into it.
This episode is part of our 100 Greatest Movies series based on Empire Magazine's 2017 article of the same name. So it's sort of about two rival magicians, Robert Angier, played by Hugh Jackman, and Alfred Borden, played by Christian Bale, who will stop at very little in order to best his opponent. And when Borden comes up with an act that he calls the Transported Man, in which he bounces a ball across the stage before stepping through a door and instantly reappearing from a second door on the opposite side of the stage to catch the ball, Angier becomes obsessed with finding out how the trick works. So, yeah, what are some of your initial thoughts, guys, on this film? It's very interesting for me to be looking at this one. There's obviously a lot of Nolan films in the top 100, and when I was looking down the list, this is certainly one which jumped out as being an odd one, I think, in the top 100, because this is not the Christopher Nolan film that jumps to mind when you think of him.
Yeah.
But it's come to my understanding that it's very popular amongst a lot of people, a lot of film fans. So, Andrew, I'll start with you, mate. Initial thoughts.
Yeah, it's a little gem, I think. Nolan's a very self-conscious director, and his films, they're so, sweeping and epic. All of his films, this one's kind of like an in-betweener.
Yeah.
And I think it works, it's better because of it, because it feels like his focus, I don't know, like his focus isn't truly on, he's not trying to break new ground with this film. He's just trying to make a piece of entertainment, which is clever and keeps you guessing.
Yeah.
And so it's probably my favorite of Nolan's films.
There you go.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
You spoke highly of the film he did before this, Batman Begins, as well. So
yeah, I think it's better than Batman Begins. I think it's just a more playful film. I was actually thinking that if he'd done Batman Begins in the style of this film, which is a bit more kind of theatrical and over the top, a little bit camp at times, it would have been even stronger. But I think Batman Begins gets a little bit kind of heavy-handed.
We've referred to him on this show as well as being a very, very serious director.
Oh,
and
yes.
a lot of his movies are a hard work, to say the least.
Yes.
This one's quite enjoyable. This one's fun to watch.
Yeah. I think, there's the inevitable Nolan kind of trying to do it too much. But
not to mention his time jumps.
Yeah, like it's
I've got a stat on the time jumps in this film coming up shortly as well. But
he can't help himself, can he?
No, he really can't. What about yourself, Penny? What are some of your initial thoughts on this one?
It was nice to revisit this film because I think every time I watch it, I'm just like, wait, is it really the ending that I'm thinking of? It's so grim and eerie and, so interesting to see these two men battling it out over their obsessions with like letting nothing stand in their way, totally going for that one-upmanship over and over and over again. And of course, it's got the element of magic, which I've got a really soft spot for magic, sort of even despite myself. But it's good to see this. And to me, to research everything about this film, going into the whole Tesla kind of, that guy and who he was, and that's based in reality. So for me, it's this film that's sort of based very much in a period piece, but goes into a lot of sci-fi at the end, but somehow it works. So overall, I do like it, but it's so quizzical to me. It's like an exercise in existentialism when you're watching it.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues I have with the film is the fact that I don't think that it's as clever as it thinks it is. But whether or not that's the point or not is debatable. Particularly the twist ending as well. Yeah,
it's.
But,
which one are you talking about, though?
Yeah, well, that's it exactly. What about yourself, Michael? You have hinted at the fact that you are a fan. So, what are some of your initial thoughts on The Prestige?
Yeah, look, I loved revisiting this film. I've probably only seen it maybe 3 or 4 times. Probably haven't seen it in about 5 years. So obviously you get a very different experience from the first time you watch this film to the subsequent times. You're looking for many different things. Where they've hinted at obviously Bourdain being two people. I think there's just a lot of things I got right in this film. I do agree it is Christopher Nolan's best film. Yeah, I prefer it even to the Batman films.
Even Inception?
Yes, even Inception. Inception I liked. I don't think it was great. It's obviously a bit more subdued compared to other Nolan's work. You don't have that sort of bombastic sort of Hans Zimmer soundtrack through it. It's very different in that perspective. I'm sure we'll get into the music later on. But I think in terms of the story, the performances, the good use of like the chopping and changing timeline, they've just made everything work seamlessly and perfect in this film. I'm not usually a fan of when timelines get a bit too crazy. Like, I hated Memento. I really did not like that film at all.
Yep.
I've only seen it the one time ages ago when it came out, but I just remember just a feeling after seeing that film of just everyone was saying how good it was, and I couldn't stand it. So
really,
yeah. It just something didn't gel with me with that film.
Maybe you should watch the fan edit where someone's actually reversed the movie, so the end of the film plays at the start and vice versa, and works backwards. Like, maybe that might be a little bit more.
I'm sure
enjoyable.
that would suck even more. But for many reasons that we'll get into, I just think this is a great piece of cinema. It's just to be simple, just so entertaining. It's really riveting watching and just seeing just the dark obsession that the central characters have, and how that just leads to undoing through the film. It's just great to watch.
There's no doubt that Nolan was the filmmaker to bring this story to life, you know what I mean? Like, it's very much a Nolan film, but it definitely works to his strengths. There's no doubt about that. The Prestige was released on the 20th of October 2006 in the US and the 16th of November 2006 in Australia. It was shot primarily in Los Angeles, California in the US, with some sequences also being shot in Colorado. The budget was an estimated $40 million, so it doesn't sound that big even for 2006. And it grossed $109 million worldwide. So yeah, it was a modest success. Nothing to write home about, but probably after a Batman film, when you're following it up with something like this, it probably does reflect, the final figure it got, Andrew, 109. But
yeah, it's an interesting one because it's got such an amazing cast. Such
cast
an
is
intriguing
huge.
Cast, names just draw you to go and see it, really.
Yeah.
So I would have thought it would have done a bit better than that.
Christian Bale would have been enough to get you there, right, Andrew? But
yeah, well, that was him in his prime. He was, his career was just shooting off at that stage.
Definitely. So,
it's got a tagline, Bale out of prison, because he's every Christopher Nolan film, Christian Bale's in prison.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't
right.
know if that's actually accurate, but
well, it is to an extent, Penny, because this is the only non-Batman film, a Nolan film that Christian Bale's been in. So
there you go.
So he was in Batman. Yes, he's in jail, and Prestige is in jail. So you're right.
Bail him out.
So yeah, the director of the film is Christopher Nolan. Now, we have spoken about Nolan in quite some detail when we looked at the Dark Knight trilogy here on Real Chat. And the film was, of course, made between Batman Begins and arguably his most celebrated film, which was The Dark Knight. So, Penny, I'll start over here with you. What are some of your thoughts on Nolan's career and also his work here in The Prestige?
Well, the thing that most interested me about this particular Christopher Nolan film is that he worked on the screenplay with his brother, Jonathan.
Yes.
And previously they'd worked on Memento together. And I listened to a really great interview on a Jeff Goldsmith podcast, actually, about Jonathan talking about the writing process of Memento, and then this one is basically like he got an idea to write a short story called Memento, or Memento Mori, I believe, and then sort of Jonathan thought, actually, this idea's come to the wrong brother, so it should have actually been Christopher Nolan. So I was really intrigued by that idea of two brothers writing a film about two brothers in The Prestige. So that kind of me was a nice sort of little spiraling event happening there. But yeah, it was basically based on a book by Christopher Priest, which was came to their attention and then was basically picked up. Jonathan started writing it and then brought Christopher on after they did Batman Begins, and then sort of put it on the shelf for a long time, and then came back to it after 5 years and did first draft, second draft, and then it finally got to screen with Christopher basically putting in a lot of the stuff that was stripped out from the book.
Yeah, right.
So the diaries were still in there, but the diaries are being read by Borden and Angiers. So that, whereas Jonah actually took that out of the actual script itself. So it's interesting that these two brothers collaborate, and they sound very, very different in their, I guess, life manifesto. So for them to collaborate on this and bring together a story about two brothers was extremely interesting. And then a lot of the extra editing of a script came forward in the actual editing of the film, where basically that timeline was really screwed around. So yeah, very interesting.
What's the why are they so different, those two guys? What was their different kind of standpoints?
One was actually born in England, one was born in America. Okay. And so like it was it's quite fascinating. And it sounds like there's a bit of sibling rivalry there, but there sort of isn't. It's just like there's a bit of kind of bravado going on there about one-upmanship. So yeah, supremely interesting to listen to Jonah or Jonathan Nolan talk about that.
It was certainly a brave choice at this stage in his career, wasn't it, this film?
Yeah, I think you were right. Everyone was just expecting the follow-up to Batman, and then this little film came out. And I was having a look at sort of where it rated in people's sort of overall views, and The Prestige didn't rate that well in terms of all of his other films. So, but I'm with you guys. I actually really like this film. It's sort of gentle in its delivery, but really gets you thinking. It's not bang in your face. It raises a lot of questions. it's not just a film. It's sort of like this, as I said before, it's a very kind of thinking, existential kind of film.
Would you classify yourself as a Nolan fan?
That's interesting. I really liked Memento. I thought that was a really great film. I'm really sorry.
Sorry.
No.
I thought you revisited it. It probably has been like 20 years.
Yeah, I think it was just so different to everything that was out there. And I think this film, in that same way, that non-linear narrative is supremely interesting and really leaves you kind of confused and kind of wondering where you are in that sort of whirlwind. And this film is basically like The Prestige. It sets it up like a magic trick, which is like, beginning, middle, end. But in terms of Nolan's other work, like I think Dark Knight is an excellent film. Inception, I'm kind of I like it, but I don't love it. It kind of leaves me a bit cold. This film, I think, is a little bit more engaging. Like a Christopher Nolan film takes a lot of time. It's not just the time to watch it. It's the time to kind of revel it out.
It takes energy to watch his films as well. But
I do feel like you're kind of watching a thesis or something, that they're kind of they're a bit dry and they're very serious and very detailed. And it's not like a piece of entertainment for entertainment's sake. It's just kind of like you go into the Nolan world of intellect and hidden meaning. And
Interstellar was the one that really rubbed me the wrong way.
Well,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, he's got a lot of haters, doesn't he? Like a lot of people are real anti-Nolans. I commend him because he's really brought an intelligence back to cinema. I mean, he's a craftsman. His films are just very beautifully made and. Yeah, they always require you to actually use your brain for a change, which is pretty rare with a lot of mainstream cinema these days. So,
but I think you've got to be in the mood for a film like that.
Completely.
If you see a Nolan film in the wrong frame of mind, like it really rubs you the wrong way.
But I think,
you could literally die if you see a Nolan film.
Yeah.
But I think Dunkirk isn't, from what I've heard, isn't like that. It's more of like a kind of a visceral experience rather than a twist and turns kind of film.
Yeah.
But, I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. What about yourself, Michael? Thoughts on Nolan?
Yeah, look, I guess he's got many solid films under his name. Like, you got to admit what he did with the Batman, I guess, franchise or whatever you want to call it, after we saw, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin and just where that went. And for somebody to turn it on its head to become a gritty, sort of raw film, it's just commendable. Like, they were great films. Again, I've shared my feelings on Memento. Maybe I need to revisit that.
At the end of this podcast, you'll really like Memento.
Yeah.
We'll cut it so that it sounds like you
Maybe that has to be my challenge. I have to go back and watch Memento and do a 1 minute review on it.
I think you should, Michael, because around this time as well, around the time of Memento and that, you saw a film called Alien Resurrection. You said it was good.
Yeah,
back then as well.
Let's not talk about that. I was starry-eyed. I just wanted to like that film so much. I did, goddammit.
You were young and confused.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, let's not go there. Anyway, so Nolan. But look, I guess most of the things I've seen of his I like. I haven't seen Interstellar, so I can't comment on it. I guess I've been not very inspired to see it because almost everyone I've spoken to has not liked that film. So.
Except my wife, Helen, who is probably her favourite Christopher Nolan film. So,
So it divides people quite strongly,
sure
that
does.
film.
Yeah.
But as I said, look, this is my favourite of the films of his that I've seen. And I think he's a great director.
Yeah. What about his work here in The Prestige then as well? Because you're obviously a fan of this film. So, do you think that this embodies Nolan? Do you think that, as you said, it's probably one of your favourite films of his?
Probably not. Well, I guess there are some things typical of Nolan. It has Michael Caine in it to start with.
And Christian Bale.
Yeah. And but I guess it's very different from the Batman films. As I said, it sounds completely different. It looks a fair bit different. I wouldn't have said it's typical of him. Even Inception was more aligned with the Batman films in terms of its presence and just really in your face, sort of booming soundtrack and very grand. Whereas this is a bit more subdued. I want to sort of repeat what Greg Packer said in the Raging Bull episode, where and look, it was a very good comment. Like, where does your when you're praising a director or praising an editor or praising a cinematographer, I guess it's all just like a fusion of that, and there's like a perfect fusion of that in this film, and to commend one of them over the others, it's very difficult to draw that line. I think one of the strengths of this film is it's just beautifully edited. You see exactly what you need to see, and you don't see what you're not required to see. And sometimes what you don't see in this film is actually its strengths, and whether that's Nolan, whether that's a cinematographer, whether that's the editor, I can't say, but it just comes together perfectly.
You guys saw this film 12 years ago when it came out?
Yes.
Right? Do you feel differently about it after rewatching? Do you think the film, benefits from rewatching?
I personally do. Yeah, I got a very different experience out of it, but I still enjoyed it. I'd be curious to go around the table. I did guess about 3/4 of the way through it. I picked the thing with Borden and his engineer being the double, but I didn't feel that really mattered. And I don't think it was. There was still other twists and turns in the movies. It didn't really matter that you picked up on that. So
yeah.
But again, on rewatching, you see just so like there's so many hints through the film that they're doubles. It's kind of like it's so obvious on repeats, but but it doesn't matter. That's kind of the point of it. So,
yeah, that's very true. Would you agree with that, Penny?
Yeah, and I think every time I sort of watch it, that's probably like the third or fourth time I've seen it. But it's like at what moment did I realize it the first time? And it doesn't kind of really matter, as you say. And in fact, the film actually tells you. Like Cutter actually says it's a double, and you know you're just like, oh no, it's not. It must be something more like amazing than that. And then it goes off into this like completely like for me that whole top hat sequence with the cat and like that's super super creepy and the whole like he drowns every night like that to me was the like on rewatch was like I can't be that. It can't be as awful and evil and horrible as that, surely. And
it's Hugh Jackman doing that.
He's the greatest showman.
That's the boy from Oz.
The only thing I'd say is just that I always forget before I see this film again what's happened. Like, like the twists and the turns. I know that there's all these twists and turns in the film, but I always forget how they play out until I see it again. And I think that's because like some of the moments in it are just so far-fetched, with the whole sci-fi element, and probably the main thing I have against it is just it's not really magic. It's kind of it's not like a sleight of hand. It's just like, oh, they've got some crazy electrical device that does stuff.
I would agree with that. Penny, you mentioned before, obviously, the writers. Jonathan Nolan wrote the screenplay with his brother, Chris Nolan, of course. And then there was the novel by Christopher Priest. You haven't read this by any chance?
I didn't know. For this podcast, I didn't. I'm so sorry.
I don't expect you to read full books in preparation for this.
I was going to get my double to read it, but didn't get that kind of time.
She's coming in halfway through the podcast.
Yeah, how do you know it's me? Yeah,
that's exactly right. But have you got any other thoughts on the screenplay itself, Penny, or have you essentially covered that?
No, I think that's kind of covering everything that, like, it was just, I'm always interested in adaptation. I always think it's a fascinating, like, endeavor, basically. And I think what they've done with the book, from what I can understand from how the book was written to how they've transported it, forgive that term, to the screen, I think they've done really well. It's super engaging, and I think, for me, the story of the two brothers kind of writing it was just a little clincher on how kind of cool that is. But I'm kind of not that interested in going back and reading the book, because I think that it sounds like they've done a better job with the material in the film. If that's, that's sort of,
I think so. I think they have.
Myself in saying no.
No, I think that's the consensus.
But and I think that Christopher Priest was actually like really like impressed with it, and was sort of watching it going, oh man, I wish I'd thought of that. And I mean that's a great testament to a great story.
Oh, isn't that the ultimate compliment?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
The writer of the book says, oh my God, they did better than my book, It's really good.
I think
Let me ask you this. Do you think they write dialogue just so Michael Caine sounds iconic with everything he says? Do you think they actually go out of their way to go, well, we're going to make this a Michael Caine sentence? Because everything he says, it just reminds me of The Trip, first of all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's just pure, it's classic Caine.
Yeah, it's quintessential Caine in this film. Yeah.
It's just up to 11, isn't it?
Yeah.
Andrew, the cinematographer, oh, he's back. I love this guy. Wally Pfister.
One of the greatest names ever put to paper.
Of course, he would later win an Oscar for Nolan's Inception a number of years down the track.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the cinematography in this film? I think this film looks unreal.
He's such a brilliant cinematographer.
Oh, he's awesome.
Every film he's worked on, including the soft porn ones in the early days, they're stunning. They're absolutely stunning films. He's just, obviously most of his showcases with Nolan. And just, look at all those films and how beautiful they look. And Moneyball's another one, which is just, if you haven't seen that, it's a beautiful looking film. But this is probably one of his best works, I reckon. It's just, with the snow and the landscapes and the amazing shot with the light bulbs out in the snow.
Oh, how good is it?
Just, your eyes just kind of just like, it's just so stunning. You're just kind of like, my God.
The Victorian era as well, does Wally Pfister a lot of favours as well, doesn't it? Works to his strengths.
Yeah, that and the production designer, Nathan Crowley, the two of them together, just you think you really do get transported to that time, and I can't believe it wasn't shot in England. They just nailed the look so well, and it's just, you can see that it was, tightly shot. There's obviously budget constraints, but they're so clever in how they utilize those main streets to make it feel like it's London. So it's a stunning film, and I was looking into Pfister, and it's interesting that the last film he did the cinematography for was Dark Knight Rises, which is quite a while ago now.
2012.
Yeah, he's moved into directing, and he's done, what was that Johnny Depp film which everyone hated?
Which one?
More specific? Was that Charlie in the Chocolate Factory? Or,
no,
the Lone Ranger?
Pirates of the Caribbean?
Lone Ranger?
No, it was that weird one that came out where he had like that thing on his head and he could kind of...
The Lone Ranger. Sorry.
Transcendental, is that the one, or something like that? Clearly no one saw it, but...
No, I didn't see this film, no.
He directed that, so sorry, Wally, to bring that up, but yeah, and he's done a few TV series since, but yeah, no DOPing since that Dark Knight film, so it's a shame because what a talent.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that this film is sensational to look at, every frame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an absolute art gallery, this film, yeah, definitely. The cast, guys, I guess you could call them iconic. I mean, there's lots of iconic actors in there. So, I'm calling it. They're iconic. Hugh Jackman plays Robert Angier, or the Great Danton, an aristocratic magician. After reading the script, Jackman expressed interest in playing the part. Christopher Nolan discovered Jackman's interest, and after meeting him, saw that Jackman possessed the qualities of stage showmanship, which we all know he has, that Nolan was looking for in the role of Angier. Nolan explained that Angier had a wonderful understanding of the interaction between a performer and a live audience, a quality he believed that Jackman had. Nolan said that Jackman has the great depth as an actor that hasn't really been explored. People haven't had a chance to really see what he can do as an actor, and this is a character that will let him do that. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I mean, I guess it plays. Firstly, it plays to his strength as a showman. Like he's a very charismatic,
100%.
Magician on stage, and I guess that's the purpose of the role. Like Angier is the stronger showman to Borden, but then we revealed like a very dark character behind that, and I think Hugh Jackman played that brilliantly. Like as his character became undone through the film, he was able to sort of do that fantastically. I thought. Yeah,
I think this is his best performance I've seen. Really, I just think it's definitely like It's so enjoyable to watch an actor who you're so used to seeing do a certain thing and then spin it on its head and play so many different kind of levels. He's playing essentially a monster, really, but you're still charmed because it's Hugh Jackman. So you're torn by that. But then he's even when he plays the drunken actor, he has so much fun with it. You can see he's enjoying playing these kind of...
Yeah, root.
Yeah. And he's just, when he decides to kind of screw up the show and take it into his own, overpower him, and there's just so much going on there, so many levels to his performance, and so good that Nolan was able to kind of see that he was capable of doing that.
There's a certain pride there as well as Australians, isn't there, when you see Hugh Jackman?
Oh, he's our Hugh.
He's absolutely.
Yeah. And the fact that you hate him by the end of the film, but you also just feel so sorry for him as well. Like you're getting both emotions. That he's done a good job in that respect, because that's how you're supposed to feel by the end of the film.
100%. Yeah. Penny, thoughts on Jackman?
Yeah, he's ever watchable, isn't he? Like, I haven't seen The Greatest Showman. I don't actually know if I do want to actually see that, but I think that his performance would be at the major draw card, which it is in this film as well, and he can really sort of switch it up between being that loving husband, that tortured soul, that drunk guy. Yeah, and interestingly enough, you don't know whether he's the protagonist or the antagonist, and I think that's a really interesting thing about the script as well. So moving back to that, it's like, who are you rooting for?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a standard response if someone says, "Have you seen Hugh Jackman in the Greatest Showman?" I say, like, "Oh, in The Prestige, yeah, I saw him in that. Yeah, it was really good." Yeah. Christian Bale plays Alfred Borden, or the Professor, a working-class magician. Christian Bale expressed interest in playing the part and was cast after Jackman. Although Nolan had previously cast Bale as Batman in Batman Begins, he did not actually consider Bale for the part of Borden until Bale contacted him about the script. Nolan said that Bale was exactly right for the part of Borden and that it was unthinkable for anyone else to play the part. Nolan described Bale as an actor terrific to work with, who takes what he does very seriously. And if any of you guys have heard our episode on Terminator Salvation, yes, he takes his work very, very seriously.
I want you off the fucking set, you prick!
Sorry.
No, don't just be sorry. Think for 1 fucking second.
For those of you that don't know, that's when he had the meltdown on set with the cinematographer of that film.
I'd like a clip of that now in the podcast. I think you should cut to that.
Oh, good for you!
Right now. We'll just send them back to that episode because I think we had more of that than talk about the film, which makes sense with Terminator Salvation. There's not much to talk about.
I hope it was fucking good because it's useless now, isn't it?
But so Nolan suggested that the actors should not read the original novel, but Bale actually ignored his advice.
The fuck are you doing? Are you professional or not?
That guy.
He's so reckless. He's just out of control.
He's his own man.
Yeah. Penny, thoughts on Christian Bale?
He's good. Whenever I see this, I kind of think he's overplaying it a little bit. That kind of, oh, all right, governor. Like, it just sort of sounds a little bit too much.
Isn't that what he sounds like?
Yeah, it's really overplayed. Maybe I just don't like him. No,
He's a Cockney Patrick Bateman, isn't he?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it is hip to be square. So the through line of this film in trying to figure out which brother is which at what time is where Christian Bale really excels, because I think he throws himself so much into any part. And when he's really angry in this film, he's really angry. Like, I'm genuinely frightened of this guy because I think that he's an absolute time bomb.
No! No! Don't shut me up!
Well, that's Christian Bale.
Yeah, and I think so. I think it's him definitely playing him. He kind of keeps me at arm's length a little bit, just in terms of that kind of delivery and, oh, do you love me today? Oh, yes, today I love you. Oh, no, not today. I don't know. I think he does a standout job, but I think there's something for me just that really sort of puts me off Christian Bale just a little bit.
In anything he does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I enjoy his performance, but I think it's like a Tom Cruise kind of thing. You're kind of like, separating the actor from the man. Let's not talk about Tom Cruise.
What about yourself, Michael? Christian Bale.
Look, I'm a Christian Bale lover as well, up until I saw Terminator Salvation, which then I thought, okay, he wasn't completely invincible. He can make bad films and has made bad films.
It is his worst performance ever.
Yes. But in terms of this film, I love his performance in it. I guess, look, he's pretending to be a person pretending to be himself in this film, essentially. Like, he's two brothers that are different. They do have different personalities, and I guess the point on this watching where you just sort of, like, I mean, I didn't really notice it the previous times, but that one of them is a bit sort of more gung-ho than the other one that did the wrong knot and was a bit more stubborn and did that not even the cutter told them to do otherwise, that ended up resulting in Angie's wife dying. So they do have different personalities. So I guess through Christian Bale's performance, he has to have those, I guess, nuances to be a bit more of one character and then the other one in different scenes. And I think he does that really well. And yeah, which is all that sort of, do you love me today? Do you not love me today? But towards the end of the film, but just before, I think it's where his wife commits suicide, I find it a really powerful scene where he actually says, no, I don't love you today. And he's honest and it's sort of stripped bare. And I think that was really powerful. So yeah, no, good performance from Christian Bale.
What about your thoughts as well, Andrew?
He's always watchable, isn't he? He's so bombastic and just so passionate and fiery that you can't take your eyes off him. Nice to see that he's got a bit of meat in this film as well. He's not, basically starved or, receding or, just wasting away like he is in most films.
Any actors that can shape himself in the way that Christian Bale can?
Yeah, what he's done to his body, that guy. God, and I can imagine.
It can't be good later in life.
Oh, the internal activities going on there. Jesus.
But in this film?
In this film, I think, probably not one of his most amazing performances. It's very Bale-esque, but he certainly pulls you in into the story. But I think, to me, it's Jackman's film.
Michael Caine plays John Cutter, the stage engineer who works with Angia and Borden. Caine had previously collaborated, obviously, with Nolan and Bale in Batman Begins the year before. Nolan said that even though it felt like the character of Cutter was written for Caine, it actually wasn't. Nolan noted that the character was written before I'd even met Caine. And Caine actually describes Cutter as a teacher, a father, and a guide to Angia. Caine, in trying to create Cutter's nuanced portrait, altered his voice and posture. Nolan later said that Michael Caine's character really becomes something of the heart of the film. He has a wonderful warmth and emotion to him that draws you into the story and allows you to have a point of view on these characters without judging them too harshly. I wouldn't really agree with that voice comment.
It's Michael Caine.
It just is Michael Caine.
He just turns up and
we're going to need a bloody good double.
It's just very good, Andrew.
It's just it disappeared into that character.
But perfect role for him, no doubt about
that. Michael Caine he's a legend. He could do whatever he wants.
And still does. Do whatever he wants.
God.
Yeah, that's right. Penny, thoughts on Michael Caine?
Love him. He's amazing. He's so easy to watch and you're on his side. And I think in some ways he is the protagonist of the film. He actually sort of learns the most and then changes the most at the end, I'd say. But yeah, he's like, I just love him.
How many actors have the ability to tap into all of us and you just go along with whatever he tells you or wherever he feels about something, you just feel the same as him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
in fact, if he did an audiobook of The Prestige, I'd probably listen to that.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. Michael Caine?
Yeah, look, he's fantastic in this film, but I guess without the warmth of this character, like if this character wasn't in the film and played as well as he did, it could have been a completely different film. Like, I mean, essentially he's playing the audience. Like, you got these two sort of central characters pulling themselves apart, and he's the one sort of sitting back there going, what you're doing is wrong. Like, just pull yourselves together. This is going to destroy you both, essentially.
I love that scene as well when he wants to purchase the machine as well.
Yeah. Oh, where he's talking to the judge about
the judge.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Almost doesn't need to really be in the film as such. Like, he just serves a point as being like the moral compass and the heartbeat, I guess. The warmth of the film. Or if you removed him, it'd just be a very, very cold kind of evil film.
That's right. Yeah.
Both of the other guys aren't really likable.
Piper Perabo plays Julia McCulloch in the film, Milton the Magician's assistant and Angie's wife. She's more in the first half of the film, really, isn't she?
Yeah. Spoiler.
Obviously her death is, plays a big part in the rivalry that happens in this film. So, what are some of your thoughts? I'll start over here with you, Michael. What are some of your thoughts on her?
I mean, she's fine. I mean, she's a fairly minor character in the scheme of the film. She does the role well. I'm not sure I can really sort of comment on it much more than that. I mean, she's serviceable. Essentially, she plays a pretty convincing assistant. And the love interest, which essentially sets off Hugh Jackman on his rampage.
That's right.
Afterwards. So
yeah. Penny?
Yeah, I mean, the actress herself, she's kind of just nothing. Like, she's entirely watchable, but I don't think she really sort of wows me. But just on the female characters overall, it was actually Christopher Nolan that really plumped up those characters and really drew them out and actually gave them something to do. So without those female characters in the film, it wouldn't really work because that was kind of the inciting incident, I guess. But yeah, she's okay. I mean, yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, Andrew, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think of the female role, she's certainly the smaller of the three. I mean, Rebecca Hall, yeah, obviously she's the main.
Yeah, she's next.
The main character, but she serves a good purpose.
So Rebecca Hall plays Sarah Borden, Alfred's wife. Hall had to actually relocate from North London to Los Angeles in order to shoot the film. Although the film itself takes place in London, of course, as we've mentioned. She was quite starstruck just to be involved in it, apparently, with all the A-listers.
Yeah, right.
But I think that she does really, really good. I think she's great in the role. Although her suicide, I don't really buy it that much. I don't know if I missed something that you guys maybe got, but I felt that sequence in the film was really quite weak. I didn't really buy that she would do it. I didn't feel it.
It was rushed.
It felt really rushed to me. Like, I thought that was one of the weaker points.
And to leave your daughter behind. Suicide is.
It really rubbed me the wrong way. I was just sort of like, I don't really buy that. That she's now just found out, about this double life of her husband essentially, and then she just goes and does that. I don't know. I just didn't wash.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that? Or?
I tend to agree. I see why they did it, and you could sort of see it coming, and I guess it sort of evened the balance between Angier and Borden, that they both, through their obsession, whatever, they both lost their wives and their love interest.
Yeah.
I agree. I didn't buy that she would have killed herself.
Like Andrew said, it felt rushed. It felt like there was something really missing, and it just felt like it was sort of well, let's just get her out of the film quick.
They didn't influence her. Whereas everything else in the film is sort of influencing the drive through of the story. It sort of felt like that only changed Borden's life rather than Angier's at all. So yeah, I sort of felt like within keeping the theme of the film, it should have been Angier having something to do with her death.
But would you guys agree that she did a good job, with the role?
Oh, she's a really good actress. Yeah, and she's solid in everything that she does.
Yep. So Scarlett Johansson, we looked at one of her films just a couple of weeks ago. Penny, she plays Olivia Wenscombe. Angie's assistant and lover. Nolan said that he was very keen for Johansson to play the role, and when he met with her to discuss it, she just loved the character. Johansson praised Nolan's directing method, saying that she loved working with him, and he was incredibly focused and driven and involved, and really involved the performances in every aspect. So, when we were looking at Lost in Translation, Andrew, we were saying that she does really well in certain roles, and then sometimes she seems a little out of her depth, like maybe in the superhero films, but in roles like this is I think this is the kind of stuff that she's suited for. Would you agree with that? Or
yeah, I think she does a strong job. I mean, it's not a great role. It's not a very meaty role, but and I must say that when I was watching her, I was just thinking she's just so cold. I just can't engage with her in an emotional kind of
Yeah, but is that the character though? More than
I
her?
think it's her.
It's her.
Yeah, like I think I was going back through all her films that I've seen, and I just Lost in Translation was the standout. That's the one where she really kind of, you feel like she's bearing something there. But in everything since, I mean, and maybe it's the roles that she gets. You know, she's obviously a stunning girl, and she just gets these kind of beautiful but not very complex characters.
She's definitely the assistant you would want. That's for sure.
That's right. But you know, she doesn't. You know, you don't get access to the character. I think she's got a real wall up with her performances. And I'm wondering if Nolan gave her tapes of Degrassi Junior High to get the accent right, because it's very, am I bothered? You know, it's just a little bit, it's very specific kind of English accent.
Loving the impersonations today, Andrew.
Thank you.
Real highlight. Penny, thoughts on Scarlett Johansson in this one?
I think Andrew said it quite eloquently. I sort of agree with all of that. She's very serviceable. She's, you know, as Carter says, you get a pretty assistant, and that's where the diversion of the audience goes to. For all of Nolan sort of trying to make better, stronger female characters in this film, I don't think that this entirely works. I think that the through line of the film works, but in terms of her delivery, she's okay. She wasn't really a standout. In fact, when I started watching it, I saw the front sort of frame of it, or the poster, and I was like, "Who's the woman in this?" And I was just like, "Oh, that's right, Scarlett Johansson." Like, completely forgettable.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's saying quite a bit actually. Just a couple of members of the supporting cast, guys. I think the two obvious ones. Mr. David Bowie himself plays Nikola Tesla in the film. So he initially actually declined playing the role when it was offered to him, and Nolan actually flew out to him personally to tell him that he was the only person he imagined for the role, and then his larger-than-life persona would make the idea of Tesla building a teleportation device believable. And upon hearing this, Bowie actually changed his mind and took the role. This is amazing to me because he is just so good in this little role. I'm surprised he didn't do more when I see him in like little parts like this. I mean, do you guys sort of agree? Like, he's so memorable in this film.
It's just an amazing choice because, I mean, David Bowie's a bit of an enigma. Tesla's a bit of an enigma. Like,
Agreed. That's what I mean.
If you're going to pick somebody to play him, it's just logical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that it's just such an understated kind of use of David Bowie.
It is.
Like, you could have just gone, fuck, we've got David Bowie, let's write, 8 more pages for him to say. But he's really barely in the film, but he's just so enigmatic and just epic. It's Bowie.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a clever casting choice. But yeah, really understated. I love that use.
Penny?
It was nice to see him, but I think, I agree. I could have seen more of him. And he was so understated. I was just like, look at those eyes. They're amazing. Like, I actually think that he, out of anybody, could have been replaced by anybody else. I don't think they made enough of him.
Okay. Yeah. So a little bit underused.
Yeah, lovely to see him, but not really utilised, but in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough too. And of course, guys, Andy Serkis plays Tesla's assistant. Serkis said that he played his character with the belief that he was once a corporation man who got excited by this maverick Tesla, so jumped ship and went with the maverick. Serkis described his character as a gatekeeper, a con man, and a mirror image of Michael Caine's character. Serkis, a big fan of Bowie himself, said that he was enjoyable to work with, describing him as a very unassuming, very down-to-earth, very at ease with himself and very funny. But I just love Andy Serkis whenever he turns up in anything.
How good is Andy Serkis?
Oh, he's amazing.
I wish he'd do more roles rather than, he's always
rather
doing a lot of
CGI roles.
A lot of, just really, kind of thankless kind of, in a way. I mean, no one realizes he's doing all these roles because he's hidden behind the CGI, or he's in some zoot suit,
Yeah.
But he's such a great character actor.
He's so creepy in this film, actually. It's just,
There's something behind the eyes, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally precious performance, haha. But,
Nice.
Yeah, he's got such an amazing face. Like, when he smiles, like, his whole face smiles. He's quite incredible.
It's like Michael said as well. There's something really sinister about that face as well. Like, and he just does it brilliantly.
Yeah. And I think it's actually like in playing off the David Bowie very stoic kind of character of Tesla, and like he's a sort of this, it's kind of like the Igor, kind of like running around and getting the experiments ready, and he sort of takes delight and glee in that. Definitely.
I found this next section, guys, very difficult with this film. I think, Andrew, I do have to come back to the light bulb scene, but this is favourite scene in the film. It's difficult with this film. I don't think that there's many absolute standout sequences other than that one, in my opinion. But are there any standouts for you, Penny?
I was thinking about this because I knew that this was going to be a question, and I agree. It's sort of a very monotonal film in terms of there's that crescendo is not exactly there. There's no sort of real standout pieces. But I do actually really like when Hugh Jackman disappears for the first time behind the door and sort of explains how it's going to be done. And like that for me is that door behind the magic is just like, it's such a simple idea. But when it's performed really, really well, you're totally on board with that. So I just got caught up in the behind the scenes magic of that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my sort of favorite. And he's just so happy with it. And it's infectious. That glee is infectious.
Yeah. Michael?
For me, it's got to be the first time Bourdain, so Christian Bale's character, does the transported man trick. And that scene's shot really well because you're actually chopping during 3 different timelines. So this is the moment you're kind of building to in the film. You know he's got a big trick to reveal. So you're cutting between Angie is taking off his costume after the show, just blown away saying, oh, this is the best magic trick I've ever seen. But then you're sort of cutting to like the second performance where Cutter's there watching it as well. So you see, Christian Bale throw the ball, but you never actually see the other guy come out of the second box. Although when I remembered back on the film, I remember thinking that you did see it, but you actually don't. When the other man is revealed, you're actually looking at Cutter's face and he's almost underwhelmed. And just that scene, just the way he's cut together, I think it's magnificent. It's what you don't see in that scene that really sort of blows you away.
Andrew?
I mean, I'm with you with the light bulb scene. I think that's a magical moment. But just going back to that very moment, I just was reading about the film and how the importance of that we don't see the second man come out of the door.
Yeah.
So basically, I think they're talking about it in regards to, as a first time viewer of the film, you just assume that Bale's found a way to kind of transport himself. You don't realize there's a twin. But I mean, the fact that he doesn't cut and show you Bale coming out, I don't know why. Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, do you guys have a kind of an idea as to why he chose to cut away at that point?
I think part of it is just Cutter's expression. It was just, it was really at the point where obviously Angie's was just so blown away with it. There must be some amazing trick behind this. But you see just Cutter's expression, and then you hear just like one clap in the crowd, and sort of Cutter looks to the side. You just see how underwhelmed he is, and then he's explaining it's just a double, and that sort of is the path of the rest of the film. And Cutter's right at the end of the day.
I think that's where it was disappointing for me. It was just that all that was just a double. Like if it was some amazing kind of sleight of hand.
No.
Then it would have been like really mind blowing.
No,
but
I'm with you, Andrew. It's that sort of, it's not that interesting.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
And the classic thing of like the whodunit murder where, you're trying, as a filmmaker, you're trying not to show the actual murderer throughout the film. You're cutting around him. And so they do that same thing with Bale's twin.
Yeah.
With really bad makeup. And it's just that is probably the worst part about the film, is that it's so bloody obvious that there's this character is Bale, that it's just like it undoes all the good work around.
Yeah, that's how I felt this time around watching it as well. But guys, Root, who Hugh Jackman plays as well, just a little note here about him in the film. Jackman's appearance was sort of modified using a dental prosthesis and false earlobes. And Angie, like Jackman, has actually attached earlobes and Root has unattached ones as well. So Jackman's nose also appears to have been altered. Sort of trick photography was sort of used by Nolan when Angie and Root appeared together. There's some trick photography, but there's a lot of doubles use as well. But done really well.
Yeah.
The way that he looks is unique, though. I actually really like it. You know what I mean? Root I'm talking about here as well. Because he looks like him, but there's something off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
It's that typical doppelganger double thing, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I think it just really adds to his performance because he's got these weird teeth in. He's just kind of overplay.
It looks like a bit of an overbite or something. Yeah.
But I think Jackman had a ball playing this.
Oh, absolutely. Isn't it amazing? You can tell as an audience member when an actor is just loving it, and it's just they launch out of the film, and there's an energy there that just makes it so enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, really great.
Yeah.
I also really like that in Victorian England, if you need to find a double, you'll find one. Any bar. Just go
down to the pub.
Yeah, great. We really need to find this. Oh, we got him. Okay, move on.
It does look a lot like me, doesn't it?
Serious question. Have any of you guys, like in the age of the internet or whatever, ever come across somebody that looks a lot like yourself? No, I'm deadly serious. Has that ever happened? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, your friend's going to tell you something that you look like someone or something like that.
No, but normally you don't think so.
Yeah.
Normally because you see yourself every day.
There's a Google app for that now. Seriously.
Is that really?
It looks at arts and culture, so it looks through all like the database of all paintings in the world. It scans your face and finds all the paintings that look like you. So that's the closest thing.
So none of you have ever had that experience?
I'm curious to know, have you?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go on.
It was, and of all things as well, it was a young filmmaker in America.
Wow.
And there was a particular image that I saw with this guy with a camera. This is maybe 10, 12, maybe even 15 years ago or something like that, right? And I just saw this person and it shocked me to the core how much it looked like me back then. Like, because normally if someone says you look like somebody, you look at them and you go, no, I don't. You know what I mean? But
the fact he was a filmmaker as well.
And
that's
his initials were AS as well.
Yeah.
No joke. No joke. But it was one of those moments where you have a little bit of your heart sort of skips a beat because you're sort of like, that does look like me.
Was he wearing a Back to the Future t-shirt?
Oh, that would have been the clincher. But a filmmaker as well, holding a camera. Like, you know, I mean, it was just a little bit, it was a shock.
You should seek him out.
Yeah, I should see if I can find him again. Yeah. Before he doesn't look anything like me now, but, you know, but back then it was just one of those weird moments.
This is a whole new spin-off podcast here.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Who or what is the Prestige? So Caddicer describes every magic trick as having a 3-act structure, which consists of the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. The pledge is a magician shows you something ordinary. The turn is that he makes it seem to do something extraordinary, such as disappear, levitate, transform, etc. And the prestige, or the hardest part, is the payoff, the reward of the trick for the audience. In a trick like sawing a woman in half, the prestige is reconnecting her. In the central trick of the film, the prestige is when someone appears across the stage or theatre having previously disappeared. This 3-act structure of a trick was invented for the film and is not actually based on actual terminology used by real-life magicians. In the novel in which the film is based, the prestige is the spirits of the duplicate Angiers.
Yeah, that was another interesting part about the book. Sort of as based on a time where, you know, pre-internet, where people had nothing to do. They wondered if they could get in touch with the dead. So there were lots of seances going on, and people would actually go and see live performances of these seances. So they decided to strip that out completely and put in the magical overtones rather than the spiritual overtones.
Was Nikola Tesla a real person?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he was. That's the simple answer. Yeah. He was born in 1856 and died in 1943, and he was a Serbian scientist and inventor who is often called the father of physics for his major contributions in the fields of electricity and electromagnetism, including invention of altering current, or AC, electrical power. However, his eccentric personality and his bizarre claims about possible scientific and technological developments also earned him the title of Mad Scientist. And he died impoverished at the age of 86. Tesla's later years saw him pursuing more and more unusual applications of technology, with many rumoured goals including anti-gravity, death rays, and teleportation. Sounds like something from Doom, Michael. But,
yes.
None of these pursuits, however, were ever actualised. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, definitely interesting character, and an interesting character to put in this film as well.
Well, I think one of the main reasons as well is him and Thomas Edison, who invented direct current, or DC, had a real life sort of feud and sort of battle for supremacy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a real thing that happened in the background, and I guess the characters of this film are emulating that feud, you know, on a much smaller scale.
So what do you think with this film? Why do you think that they decided to base it on a real person?
Well, I think for that reason, I think there's really something in Nolan's trying to make a point, I think, with the relation of those two competitions, or the competitive nature between, I don't know, two talented or brilliant people, I guess, and just the one-upmanship. There's something in the, I don't know, the darkness that comes out of that.
Yeah. And they even, they touch on that in that scene where there's like an exhibition where there's that sort of device that's sort of going haywire and shooting electricity everywhere. And Andy Serkis is up on the stage saying, oh, this is a Thomas Edison smear campaign and stuff. So, yeah, it's brought to the forefront in the film, and it's a great backdrop for what's happening in the film.
Do you guys think that the film gives you an insight into exactly what Tesla's machine does?
Not at all.
What, the fictional...
Yes.
Machine.
Is it what it was meant to do? Or?
Yes.
It was supposed to be an accident.
In the film, what is it doing?
It was
exactly?
It was a happy accident. He was actually trying to transport people, and in fact, he was duplicating people. So it was all an accident. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was still not complete. It was not supposed to be. I get the impression it wasn't supposed to be duplicating them. They were trying to fix that bug in the system. It was just merely meant to be transporting them.
Yeah. Andrew, the movie does not explicitly answer the question, but the consensus interpretation is that the Tesla machine, whatever it was designed to do, results in two identical copies of an object or person, including memories, personalities, etc. One remains in the Tesla machine, and the other is either created or deposited a short distance away, which I find really interesting, that whole short distance thing. Like the whole thing with the cat and all that top hats that are all out in the snow.
Yeah.
only a certain distance away from the building.
Yeah.
If only Tesla looked over the hill and just saw.
So for all his brilliance, he just should have gone outside. But that is great imagery. All those hats down the hill. I just find that's a really lasting image of the film.
It's the opening shot, isn't it? It's the opening shot of the film.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I thought I'm watching it this time when the cat, like, it's released and it runs away when Angier walks away. I thought that they'd set that up to go, oh, now he's going to find the other hats and the cats and we're going to look amazing. But it's actually
they're all
an
amazed.
accident.
They didn't know they were out there.
Which it's kind of like a weird plot device to have in a film. It's just like, ooh, that was an accident.
Angier's lack of knowledge on its workings is part of his character's journey or development. There are 4 main possibilities. 1, the original stays in the machine and a duplicate is created at the destination, like a fax machine. 2, the original is teleported and a duplicate is created within the machine, such as Angier having gone to Tesla for a teleporting machine after all. 3, the original is destroyed and the 2 copies are created, one in the machine and the other at the destination, a variant of 1, 2, and 3, being that instead of the machine creating a copy, the machine sort of pulls the copy for a similar quantum reality. And 4, the machine may randomly switch between the first 2 options each time it's used. As Tesla says, exact science is not an exact science.
Yeah.
For example, one time the duplicate might be left in the machine and the next time the trick is performed, the duplicate might be the one to show up elsewhere. What is important is that Angier doesn't know. He says as much when he talks about not knowing if he'd be the man in the box or the prestige. This is intended to indicate just how identical each version of Angier is, including all his memories, character traits, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you'd never know that. Yeah,
it's interesting to speculate on, but again, it's just pure science fiction.
The other option is that the machine doesn't work at all, and Tesla just threw all these top hats out and a couple of cats. And just went, that's what your money got you.
Michael,
and Angier has 100 identical twins for the 100 shows only. Just putting it out.
Just on the sound effects thing as well, Michael. Like, you know, when they start duplicating the cat, those sound effects that play off screen are just the most library of cat sound effects I've ever heard. You know, like you just hear those same sounds like that they just use. It's obviously royalty free.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And one really nerdy thing I thought about watching this film, and it didn't occur to me before. So he's doing 100 shows, right? So every time he does a show, one of the clones falls into the glass box, right? And he gets locked in there, right? So he must have 100 one of these glass enclosures that are the same type that his wife drowned in. Had he, before the show, sat and cloned that box 100 times? Because where would you have got... I mean, that would be a very expensive contraption. Like,
100 of
so
them.
if you've got a cloning machine, you'd clone it. I mean, so he must have... That must be just something that happened off scene, that he's cloned this box 100 times. And because they're not actually disposing of the cloning time out of the box, they're actually just putting all the boxes down there.
So super weird. Just
and
get rid of them.
such a creepy vision at the end of the film, looking down all these boxes with the dead clones in them. But yeah.
And did he clone the blind stage assistants as well?
There's a few of those around.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's like an army of weirdos.
It was great, wasn't it?
Not that blind stage assistants are weird. I'm saying that.
Unusual, maybe, but
yeah, sure.
The 2 twists at the end of the film, guys. The film actually has 2 of them. So one for each of the rival storylines and how the trick is performed. So each of which is sort of revealed near the end of the film. The Borden twist is that Borden and Fallon are a pair of identical twins who take turns as each persona, switching whenever the trick is done. Hence, each time we see a character we used to think of as Borden, since the beginning of the movie, it was one or the other person, each with his own personality, points of view, privity to certain situations, etc. Which is why when writing on his diary about the day he was asked by Angier which knot did he tie Julia with, he says that one half of him swears that he tied a simpler slip knot, while the other half is convinced that he used a Langford double. And of course, the Angier twist is that Tesla never was able to fix the teleporter he tried to create. Angier was using the machine as a teleporter for the trick, but each time 1 or 2 resulting Angiers fell through the trapdoor during the performance and drowned in the water tank. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on the sort of double twist, I suppose, or the twist for sort of both characters?
I suppose it's kind of the prestige for each character, and when you look at the magic trick, that is the film. I would say more for Angier, his prestige element is the fact that he entrapped Borden to go under the stage. He invited him on stage from Circuit Machine, knowing he would go down, and then I guess entrapped him into the murder of his clone, and then not appearing at the end of that performance and coming back as a count. So that was kind of his prestige moment, I think. But then he was undone by Borden. But yeah.
Yeah, Penny, any thoughts on the double twist?
It's a very twisty film, and I think that every time you watch it, you get a little bit more out of it. And then having the absolute pleasure of being able to research this, it was kind of like all of the questions on the internet. Like which is the real Borden? Did Angier really entrap him? Like they're all fascinating questions that I think on the first viewing I was just like, huh? I was just sort of quite happy to go, wow, that was a little bit creepy and a really good film, and Hugh Jackman's amazing. But then looking deeper and deeper and deeper into it, you can just keep spiraling out of control.
Yeah, for
Would
sure.
you agree with that, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, I just kind of went, oh yeah. And I didn't really question all of that stuff. But the main thing for me that I don't get is the very last shot where we see like the bubbles coming out of Jackman in the tank. Implying that he's...
Isn't that just a Nolan staple?
Well, yeah. I mean, it kind of annoys me because it's like, what does that mean? Like
I guess I didn't take anything out of it. I'm just assuming that was the last one that went down there, so he's still got some air bubbles kind of like that trapped in him. It's like, yeah, well, if you dunk something in water, there might be some trapped air in the clothing and stuff.
I'm sure that's not what Nolan intended, though.
Yeah, but he's dead. He's dead.
But it's such a cool idea. Like, it's like, oh... He's screwed everyone over. He's tricked everyone. But how has he done it? God, how? Tell me, Nolan.
That's true. Yeah. It took me to an Alien Resurrection moment of the bits where Ripley was cloned in all of those. Too soon. Sorry. Okay, I retract that.
Just a little bit of trivia here, guys, from The Prestige. So, Chung Ling Soo was a stage character created by a Caucasian American man, William Ellsworth Robinson, who disguised himself as a Chinese man to cash in on audiences' enthusiasm for the exotic. Robinson lived as Chung, never breaking character while in public. He died in March 1918 when a bullet catch trick went wrong. "My God, I've been shot" were both his last words and the first English he had spoken on stage in 19 years.
That's awkward.
Captain Exposition.
Absolutely. But Andrew, Sam Mendes wanted to do the film as his follow-up to American Beauty in 1999, which had just been nominated for 7 Academy Awards. Another offer came from Newmarket Films on behalf of Christopher Nolan, of whom Christopher Priest had never heard of. Priest was prepared to close the deal with Mendes when a VHS copy of Nolan's Following in 1998 was delivered to his house by motorbike.
Like drive-by, just VHS.
Because Memento was actually still in post-production at this stage. Priest was impressed and chose Nolan in part to also support a new filmmaker over an established one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they're very similar filmmakers, those two. Like,
so do you think Mendes would have done a good job with this?
Yeah, I could totally see him doing that film.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The Prestige is one of 3 2006 films to feature both the topic of magic and magicians as main characters. The 2 others are The Illusionist in 2006 and Scoop in 2006, the second of which also stars Hugh Jackman and Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, right.
I never heard of Scoop.
It's one of those years.
Okay.
Like 1981 being the year of the werewolf, where there was like 3 werewolf films that year. You know, like this was the year of the magicians.
Was that part of the reason it sort of wasn't a box office sort of hit because it was just kind of
was The Illusionist
watered down by
the
other
Illusionist
ones,
was
I was a bit after, was it?
No, they came out at the same time, but the Illusionist didn't do as well.
Oh, right, okay.
It's because that's a more of a basic love story than I mean, according to people on the internet.
I've never seen it.
Oh, you've never seen it?
I've never seen The Illusionist.
I actually did want to go back and watch it sort of side by side with this film, but just to kind of compare and contrast, because I remember seeing The Illusionist at the cinema. I think I saw The Prestige afterwards on some kind of DVD, VHS situation. Yeah. DVD? Would have been DVD, wouldn't it? I'm not that old.
Yeah.
Would have been. Definitely.
DVD, yeah.
Definitely. This is odd, guys, but whoever worked this out, but the main character's initials spell Abra. Alfred Borden and Robert Angier, as in abracadabra, a common word used by magicians.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, do you think that's intentional, or just like one of those like someone's just had a lot of time on their hands and they just looked into it?
I don't know.
The latter.
That's what Andrew would think for sure. Penny, when Andy Serkis's character is first introduced, he makes a reference to a magic trick where you guess the item in the person's pocket. This is the exact same trick that fooled Serkis's character Gollum in The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's
never
nice.
got through that.
Which would have been 6 years after this film, because that was 2012 in The Hobbit.
Oh, right. Yes.
So just one of those... Yeah.
Throwback, callback.
One of those callbacks, yeah. Also, Scarlett Johansson and Rebecca Hall also appeared together in Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
They kind of look similar in some kind of weird way.
And then furthermore, they also joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe and had their debuts in one of the Iron Man sequels. I think it was Iron Man 3, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's weird. I quite like Scarlett as Black Widow. I think that it's probably the stunts more than anything, but I quite like her in that role.
And on the comic book films, just quickly as well, guys, 6 of the film's stars have played roles in several comic book films. Christian Bale and Michael Caine, of course, have appeared as Batman and Alfred, respectively, in the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. Hugh Jackman played Wolverine in the X-Men franchise. Scarlett Johansson played Black Widow in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Rebecca Hall appeared as Maya Hansen in Iron Man 3. And Andy Serkis, of course, also played Captain Haddock in The Adventures of Tintin. He was also in The Avengers as well, wasn't he? Age of Ultron, the second Avengers film, I think. He was in that. I haven't seen it, but I'm
about 20 Marvel films behind, to be honest.
You always will be. You always will be behind that.
Pretty much any actor who's done well the last 10 years has going to be in a superhero movie. Like, it's just a given, isn't it?
How's this as well? Sarah's line, "I know what you are," was not in the script as well. Rebecca Hall said that she felt terrible right after she said it, thinking that she'd actually given away the ending.
Like, just cut it. Chill out, Rebecca.
And then early on in the movie as well, Sarah's nephew asks of the little bird, "Where's his brother?" Of course, also a foreshadowing of the fact that Borden has a twin brother as well. So, but you don't really think about these things, though,
no. You just think about he's picked what the trick is. Like, yeah,
exactly. Also here as well, guys, the editing includes 146 time jump cuts.
Jesus.
In which the next shot either flashes back or skips ahead to another time period of the storyline. This averages to almost 1 timeline jump per minute of the film.
Wow.
So
you know you're in Nolan world.
That's what I was going to say.
Statistic.
It's definitely a Nolan film at that stage. In regards to the DVD, Blu-ray or 4K Ultra HD releases of The Prestige, so there was the original, this is the one you would have been talking about, Penny, the 2007 DVD and also the Blu-ray, and also one of the now defunct HD DVD releases as well. But it does have a 2017 4K Ultra HD release. Now, The Prestige is one of 7 films by director Christopher Nolan issued on the 4K Ultra HD format. The immediate occasion for the project was Nolan's historical wartime epic Dunkirk, but the inclusion of every feature film that Nolan has made in the last 12 years also reflects the director's conviction that 4K Ultra HD is the definitive home viewing technology of our era and the best way for his films to be seen outside of a theatrical venue. In support of that conviction, Nolan has personally overseen every aspect of these releases, from film transfer to color correction to HDR, grading to choice of sound formats and even packaging. Rarely has the notion of director approved been more apt and literally true than it is here. Nolan deliberately arranged to have the film's standard Blu-ray remastered for this latest release, separating the extras onto a separate disc as well, so that it frees up the disc for the quality of the film, reauthoring the video master at a higher bitrate and re-encoding the 5.1 sound from PCM to DTS HD for you tech guys out there. Although the transfer on the standard Blu-ray is the same one used in 2007, its new presentation is superior, and the splitting of the extras onto their own disc brings The Prestige into line with the 3-disc formatting of all the other films in the newly released Christopher Nolan collection.
Jesus.
So he is just, he's really pushing the home video, the new 4K Ultra HD format with his films, definitely.
Yeah.
So he's all over it. The special features are minimal, though, with the documentary, The Director's Notebook, the cinematic sleight of hand of Christopher Nolan running roughly 20 minutes combined. It's quite an exceptional doco and manages to give the viewer quite a bit of insight into Nolan's filming techniques and his creative process. There's also an art gallery and a trailer on there, but I don't know. I think other than that documentary, would you guys have liked to have seen more, like, you know, on the making of this film? Are you interested if you haven't seen any of it before?
To be honest, I'm not much of an extras guy. So
I know you're not.
I'm all for maximising the quality of the film on one disc rather than, you know, sacrificing that for a bunch of extras. So
yeah, and
I get why you do that.
Yeah, he also didn't do a commentary as he felt that the film primarily relied on the audience's reaction and did not want to remove the mystery from the story. But really, that's just a long way of saying he doesn't do them.
Sounds like he doesn't have time, like with all that checking and...
He's got too much else.
List box ticking and all of that kind of stuff.
He's got no time to do value material. He just, you know, focuses all his attention on the film itself. And, you know, a lot of filmmakers are like that. I think Spielberg's another one. He's never done a commentary.
I think it's a good example of his films, is that the dense information is there in the film. Is you don't really want to know anything else.
No.
Like, it's just there. Like, if you compare him to Kubrick, where Kubrick leaves so much open and so much up to you, and his films are so mysterious, and he's so mysterious. That's what you want to see, the extras and learn more about the film. But Nolan, it's like, it is what it is, you know?
And for the streaming fans as well, it can be found on Netflix, but only in the US, apparently, Penny, unless you...
No, I watched it on Netflix this week.
Yes,
I tell you what.
But not on 4K. I'm sorry.
I am
Christopher.
changing my source for where I'm getting this information from. I get it from a source that tells me that it updates every 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm getting rid of this source because I've been wrong in the last couple of episodes in regards to streaming because I don't really use it. So I don't really know. So I just sort of read up about it. But maybe, Penny, you can do the research for me.
Yeah, sure.
On streaming because I know you have all the services.
Yeah, I'll just
But
ask
maybe I'll just
TV.
ask you, how can you watch this film away from physical media?
I'd be happy to oblige.
Yeah. But it can be found on Australian Netflix?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about Stan?
I didn't look at Stan because I turned Netflix on first and it was there, so I watched it.
Yeah, not on Stan.
Awesome,
I checked
guys.
it out.
If you've got Netflix, you can watch The Prestige. That's right. Andrew, the composer of The Prestige is David Julyan, I think is how you pronounce it.
David Julyan, yes.
Yes. He previously collaborated with director Christopher Nolan on Following, Memento, and Insomnia. And following the film's narrative, the actual soundtrack of the film actually has 3 sections: The Pledge, The Turn, and The Prestige.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice touch.
What are some of your thoughts on his music?
I probably think it was one of the more disappointing elements of the film. I think it's probably really doesn't have much of a personality or a presence in the film.
You wouldn't be the only one to feel this way, by the way.
No, I mean, look, I think, to be fair, it doesn't really matter with a film like this. I mean, it's so dense with dialogue and exposition, and you really are starting to concentrate on all the bits and pieces of the film. That the music obviously doesn't have much space to perform in. But I just think the film really needed some kind of... the music needed some personality, needed a theme. It could have really had some interesting musical ideas woven throughout it because it's such an interesting world to be in.
It needed a theme?
A theme, yeah, like an actual musical theme.
Yeah, we're in 2006 and it's not really a big thing anymore by this stage.
Well, that's right. But the interesting thing is the Batman theme, Zimmer's Batman theme, there's the 2-note theme, it kind of pops up like the same 2 notes. I guess it's so minimal that that's going to happen, but it does sound like Batman's going to turn up at some point in the film, which is like bizarre because Hans Zimmer actually produced this album with Sylvans. Maybe he was assisting.
He has a credit in the film as a music supervisor, some assistant role or something.
So maybe he just leaned in and went, "Can you just put this in there for me?" And just a bit of Zimmer in the score somewhere, but. Yeah, interesting that he went back to his old composer from the early Nolan days instead of Zimmer, which is maybe Zimmer was just like,
Yeah. But in regards to the criticism, Andrew, some critics were disappointed with the score, acknowledging that while it worked within the context of the film, it was not enjoyable by itself. But you're sort of saying that in the context of the film, it's missing the mark occasionally as well.
It's just a bit piss weak. Like, it's just, you can hear this kind of strings straining in the background, and it's just doesn't have a lot of power to it. It's kind of doesn't really do much. Doesn't aid the film in much of a way.
Yeah, it's very overwhelmed a little bit by the film and goes totally unnoticed a lot of the time as well. Like I'm with you. If this film had a really good score, it could have made it even better.
But it's weird because Nolan's scores are usually very strong. I mean, they're really powerful. As you were saying before, they're really loud and you can't miss them.
Don't think it would have worked in this film though.
No, well, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just weird that maybe it was his direction that he went, look, let's take it down a bit, David. It's not about the emotion.
Yeah, and there was an 18-track release of it as well.
Yeah.
Of the score.
It sounds like we've really pitched it to people. They want to pick that one up.
Yeah.
18 tracks of blandness.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. I haven't actually heard it. I just listened to it in the context of the film, and it really didn't leave much of a lasting impression. Occasionally, I noticed it was there and it was half doing its job, but I reckon this is a missed opportunity too.
And he's an interesting composer. His score for Insomnia was really interesting, I thought. So who knows? Maybe it was the direction he was given.
In regards to the song that's playing in the end credits, if people are interested as well, it's a song called "Analyze" by Radiohead frontman Tom York.
Great song from
his album The Eraser.
And it's like when that turns up, it's just like, finally we've got some kind of something to engage in musically, and it really adds to the film.
Yeah, and then
really? That took me out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just too modern and just I just found that really kind of jarring when that song came on, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know
so it didn't have the same effect of like Event Horizon when the Prodigy suddenly comes in.
Well, being a futuristic sci-fi film, it didn't hurt if a bit of electronic music came on in the credits of Event Horizon.
Yeah.
But in this film, a period drama with, it's got some sci-fi elements, but just to have a modern, pop song come on in the credits, I'm not a big fan of a song in the credits.
It's a marketing thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it was either that or
shooting strings and
If I can send you to sleep.
In regards to alternate versions or deleted scenes, I couldn't find a thing. So if there's anything of note missing here, it's never really come out. No one's never really revealed it, or so nothing to be found.
No gag reel?
No.
Because Nolan's famous
all
for
the
those.
gags. Give us all the yucks.
the wacky guy.
Guys, sequel, prequel, remake, reboot, or leave it alone? Penny?
It's already its own double, so I think leave it alone.
Yes, it's been pretty much the subtitle of this series so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, well,
Penny?
you never know. You never know what's going to happen, but yeah,
got some interesting ones coming up.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, I'd say that I'd say rewatch this film a number of times rather than remake it.
Yeah, Michael.
If David Bowie is still alive, I'd love to see the Tesla Edison kind of like prestige, like their rivalry.
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, like there probably could be a movie there, but obviously without David Bowie, I don't think you'd attempt that. So,
Yeah.
So a pure spin-off, nothing to do with like the central characters of this film, but you could do something in the world of this film.
Okay,
maybe.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, Andrew.
Maybe just a film from the point of view of Bateman's twin, when he's putting his makeup on and trying to avoid the camera, just like hiding behind a door or something like that. It could be like a whole little spin-off tale of the difficulties of being unnoticed in a film.
In regards to the awards for this film, it's two main awards of note, I guess, are the nominations at the Academy Awards in 2007, which was the Best Achievement in Cinematography to good old Wally Pfister, Andrew. Very, very much deserved that nomination. And also Best Achievement in Art Direction to Nathan Crowley and Julie Occhipinti, the set decorator, as well. So, good
Another
one.
good name.
Yeah, it is. There were no Golden Globe Awards nominations for The Prestige. But here we go again, guys. We don't talk about them as much as we used to, but the Saturn Awards, the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy and Horror Films, in 2007, it was nominated for Best Science Fiction Film, which is...
elements of science fiction, I guess.
And also Best Costumes to Joan Bergen as well. So... Yeah. Good old Saturns.
It also got a Nebula Award, which is something I'd never heard of, but it won the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America in 2008 for the script. Best script, not adaptation. So once again, science fiction and fantasy, it's just up there.
Yeah.
In a little known award, it's doing very well.
Absolutely it is, yeah. And the Rotten Tomatoes website certifies The Prestige fresh with a score of 75%, 143 positive and 48 negative. But how's this, Michael? IMDb, 8.5 out of 10.
Massive. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. So obviously just a generally a popular film.
Definitely.
For the average person.
So guys, the top 100. Does this deserve to be there, Penny?
I was surprised to see this film in the top 100, I think. I think that there are stronger Nolan films as well, and I'm sure we'll see those. But for me, it's like a little sleeper, and it was like, The Prestige, that's good, but it would never leap to mind in my, what's your favorite film or what's your top 100? It wouldn't even leap to mind, but it was nice to see it there.
Okay. So would you say it's deserving?
In mine, I wouldn't have it there, but yeah, sure. I mean, this is, it's an interesting process going through and counting down from 100. Can
I just say that on top of that as well, that I quite like this film overall, but I'm not going to put it into the top 100.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's a good film. It's a well-made film. It's an interesting film. It's nice to see it, but it definitely doesn't stick in my memory.
Yeah. Michael?
I would put this in my top 100.
It's in position 91.
91, yeah, okay. I think that's a fitting position for it. I'd say it's probably within my top 100. 100's a lot of films. Like if I was going to put a list of top 100, I'd struggle. Yeah. But I really enjoy this film. So for sure I'd put it there. And in the 90s is probably its place. Yeah. Any higher up in the list, closer to 1.
Because most of the films that you've been here with us on, you probably put in your top 10. So
that's true.
That's something a lot further down the list. Yeah. So, Andrew?
Again, referring to what this list is, it's obviously like a top 100 of popcorn, American mostly films. So in that context, I'd say it probably in a good spot.
So you think it deserves to be in the top 100? In
this list, I guess, yes, it would make sense. But I mean, if you're talking about cinema in general, there's no way. But yeah, in this list, it does make sense.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up with our traditional 5-star review system per guest. And in the traditional sense, I'm going to start over here with Mr. Andrew McCaskill.
Indeed. My favourite Nolan film, I think it's always enjoyable to watch, whereas, repeating viewing of other Nolan films is a bit of a task, bit of a chore, but this is one I'd always seek out to watch again after a few years. Just really flows well. And mainly for Jackman's performance, I love seeing him doing something different. So yeah, I would say despite a couple of Nolan isms where it just tries to take on too much, I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, good score. Yeah, good one. Penny?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd give it a 4, maybe 4.5. But in terms in terms of like wanting to rewatch it over and over again, I'd sit it firmly at 4. Sorry, I'd take back the half. It's a 4.
Yeah,
it's a 4 for me.
Good one. Michael?
I was torn between 4 and 4.5 as well. I think it probably is a 4 as well, so I'll sort of mirror the table there. As I said, look, I really enjoy this film. Yeah, there's a lot of things right in this film in terms of the cinematography, the really sort of tight editing, the story is great, the performances are great. There's a couple of minor problems with the film in my regard. There's, I didn't really like Scarlett Johansson in this film. I thought she was probably one of the weaker performances, and yeah, the music was sort of a bit non-existent. As much as I tried to sort of listen to the music for this episode, I just kept forgetting it was there. And I suppose in some cases you might say, "Oh, that's the soundtrack doing its job," and it didn't. I don't think it really hurt the film that much, but yeah, it's certainly not memorable. So I'd give it 4 stars, and highly recommend it. And then there's a lot to take in on multiple viewings as well. I think it's a film that benefits from a few additional viewings. So
I love the way you put highly recommended in there as well, Michael. Just like you obviously listen to the show.
Yeah,
this is the format.
That's right.
I know what's coming next.
Can't deviate from the format.
Yeah, that's it. I'll just quickly wrap this up, guys. The twists and turns are what sort of pull moviegoers in this film, aided by the darkness of the film as well, I think. People are fascinated by the diabolical and sinister, and the Prestige sort of contains all of these in abundance. The concept of a lifelong bitter rivalry alone is dark, but the paths these men take to damage each other become quite disturbing when you think about it. The movie features everything from suicide, killing innocent birds, burning a man alive, sending a man halfway across the world, and murder. No matter how many times I've watched The Prestige, it holds my attention because of the dark places it goes to. But despite all the praise, The Prestige always seems to sort of rank in the middle of Nolan's filmography. The movie's rewatchability is sort of damaged a little bit by the fact that it never seems as fun to rewatch a film like this as a mystery, because the mystery isn't really what is the selling point of this film, is it? Because it's quite easy to work out, if that sort of makes sense. But it's truly a film that defies categorization. The Prestige conjures a thrilling story laid with style and visual flair. The dynamic performances of Jackman, Bale, Kane, Bowie and company are certainly strong enough. It's the richness of author Christopher Priest's characters and the environment and the look of this film that really sells the illusion, I think. So, so I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5.
Ooh.
That's not a bad score, Penny.
I just lost half a point from the table.
From the table?
Yeah,
hang on. What did you give Ghostbusters 2?
3.5 stars.
Oh my God.
Why did you come back to that film?
Oh, that's always my benchmark for 3.5 stars.
Is it? Is it really?
Because it's terrible.
Someone's on the bro bandwagon here. Yeah, but
sorry.
Ghostbusters. It's still Ghostbusters, Michael. It might not be.
Sorry.
It's still Ghostbusters.
Sorry,
anyway.
open a can of worms there.
But look, 3.5 is still a good score.
It is still a good score.
And I definitely recommend the film, but like I said, not top 100 material. But it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Watch it. Definitely if you haven't seen it. Just quickly, guys, wrapping it up. Where to find us? You can find us at realchat.com.au, also at Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, Google+, Tumblr, and Patreon as well, guys, as well. So, I'd like to thank all you guys for coming along and talking about The Prestige.
Pleasure.
This is the 10th film that we've looked at, Andrew, so we've now knocked off the top 10.
We're in the almost in the 80s.
Getting there, where we should
Some
be.
good times.
Good times ahead, that's right. But thanks a lot, Andrew. Thanks very much, Penny.
It's been magical.
And Mr. Michael Hadjion, great to have you back, mate. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Good to be back. It was a ball. Thank you.
And we know we will be looking at Predator in a few weeks, so that's an absolute must. You have to come back for that.
I'll have to watch that movie for the 111th time in preparation.
You'll happily do that research. That's right. But thanks very much, guys. Thanks a lot.
See ya.
Thank you.
Cheers.